Have you been unable to work out pain-free and have just kind of decided to give up? Have you never set foot in a gym before a day in your life and are finally starting to think about it? Or have you been hitting the gym consistently day after day, week after week, and month after month and not seeing any kind of real progress? If any of this resonates with you, subscribe to our channel. Welcome to The Fence with your hosts, Mitch
and Gar.
We'll be diving into all kinds of topics to help give a leg up to first-time exercisers or those interested in beginning strength training. The topics we cover could help you exercise pain-free, could help you lose fat, lose weight, or build a crap ton of muscle. Let us help you get off the fence and into the body you deserve. Welcome our guest, Bryan.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Carestia?
That gets mistaken.
I'm glad I asked. Yeah, I'm glad I asked.
Carestia.
Carestia.
Accent on the I.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Carestia.
I feel like you need an umlaut over your I like I have over my A. So, Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background, school? What do you do now?
Yeah, so I am a doctor of physical therapy. I have been practicing for the past 14 years, and my background is I have a degree from the University of Delaware in health and exercise science. I got my doctorate of physical therapy from New York University in Manhattan. I spent the first part of my career, 3 years, in a busy, high-volume outpatient clinic in Midtown Manhattan, right by Grand Central. My wife and I got married. We didn't want to raise a family in the city, so we decided to move to the Princeton area, where we transitioned to working down here. My wife actually still works in New York, but I started working in the Princeton area for another high-volume clinic, and it wasn't for me. So I just happened to drive past a cutting-edge, at the time it was a unique model where they were treating patients one-on-one for an hour. And I just decided to walk into the clinic one day, introduce myself, ask them if they happened to have any openings, that I was kind of fed up where I was at the time. And they were. So it was kind of right place, right time. I got trained in their cutting edge approach, which we'll kind of dive into in a little bit.
Cool.
And yeah, I started working there in April of 2014. So for the past 10 years, I've been practicing physical therapy one-on-one with patients, and I won't ever go back.
So what is it that made you want to, change from the high volume, right, multiple client kind of model to one-on-one? Was there a specific need you saw or something that was lacking?
Well, I actually didn't know what I was getting into when I went there at the time. I just went on this company's website, and they had all these red ropes hanging from the ceiling. So I researched what that was, and it turns out it was a modality and an educational approach from Norway. One of the guys that founded this clinic went over to Norway, got trained in it. It's called RedCord, and he brought that concept back to the United States. And so what initially drew me to this place was the red ropes, and I wanted to learn about it. And then while I was there talking to them, they say, "Oh yeah, we treat one-on-one for an hour." I was like, that sounds awesome, because I was treating 20 patients a day. And by, Wednesday of that week, I'm burnt out. So when I heard that, like, oh, you can see 7 or 8 patients in a day, and instead of 20 patients in a day, I was like, how do I sign up?
Sure.
So, and then since then, like, I totally am a firm believer that is the only way to do it. You get the time, a full hour to work with patients one-on-one. You get to figure out what the root of their pain source is. You get to come up with an individualized treatment plan, and they see the benefits immediately. Typically, the people that I will get are ones that have already been to like a traditional physical therapy, high volume place where they are one of 3 or 4 or 5 even patients working with one therapist at the same time. And they don't get better, and they leave frustrated and having spent a lot of their time going there. And that's typically who I have been working with at this point.
Gar, you got a thought? I was going to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's actually awesome, because you're actually giving all your time to the one guy or a female, And they actually would appreciate that after what they went through, because it seems like other clinics, their main goal is like just make money, so they still gonna get some people through, and that's why they just go in like copy paste as many people they can go through.
right.
Well, I feel like that would be an easy sell, the one-on-one model after having been through probably multiple times, possibly not seeing lasting success in the larger, multiple clients going at the same time model. But also there's something maybe the other clinics isn't just to get money, maybe it's to make it a more affordable option, right? But you're still not able to provide that high level of value. And it reminds me a lot of kind of like a one-on-one session personal training versus group class. Very similar concept. Do you have any personal training background? I don't remember.
I have a certification in strength and conditioning specialist.
Did you ever do anything like during college with that, or?
I got it actually during my time at NYU. It was a requirement to get the degree actually.
Was it accredited?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yep.
Really cool.
So I just want to touch on what you just said about the affordability of it. So a lot of copays now, if you go in network with insurance, they're at least $50, sometimes more, sometimes $75. And in order to get, so you have to go 2-3 times a week. You're paying $50 at a pop, so that's $150 per week. 3 times a week, and you're not really getting any better. I typically will see someone no more than once a week for a full hour, and then I'll give them stuff to work on that are very targeted to what their specific needs are, as opposed to like, hey, here's a handout with 15 different shoulder exercises.
There you go.
And do this at home, and then come back on 2 days from now, and they're still where they were when they came the first day. Yeah, to get to the point of getting that value and time with the therapist, you're going to have to go 3 times per week to maybe get 1 hour of time.
Sure.
And you're paying, at least $50 a copay each time you go.
Yep.
And then, you're no better than where you were the previous week.
And so just to interject here, now you are technically, ActiveCore is technically, is it out of network for the majority?
All.
For all.
Yes.
One dedicated one-on-one hour, it's essentially the same price, possibly cheaper.
Correct.
Yeah. And
do
you're
it
getting a
price
lot
by-
more bang for your buck and more hands-on, personalized experience.
Yeah.
If you do price per minute, it's probably the same, if not cheaper, than the time that you're going to an in-network place.
Do you give them homework too as well?
Yes.
Things to do when they go home?
And I'll record them on their phone with them doing the exercise and my voiceover for instructions.
That's genius.
And then they prop it up. They get on the floor or wherever they are, do their exercises. They hear my voice. They can repeat it, rewind it as much as they want.
That's smart.
Whereas if you're in a high volume clinic, you're getting passed off to, a high school kid or told to go do this exercise over there in the corner with no supervision. You don't know if you're doing it properly. You could be making it worse and totally feeding into the mechanism of injury while you're there in the first place. So having that hands-on approach the whole hour, having my voice in your head at home, doing all your home exercises, it really is, in my opinion, the only way to do it.
That's actually true. Yeah, because I remember when I was in the army, I got like a pretty severe injury, and I went through the physical therapy there. Total nonsense. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Yep.
Because exactly what you said, and they don't really explain to you anything. Most of the people didn't know what to do. I already had personal training, like certification and diploma and like experience, so I knew what I was going. And a few times I even showed the other guy what to do, But yeah, it's actually that's how it is. So you're pretty much paying your money sometimes to even injure yourself more. Correct.
And that's what happens. Like I had one client yesterday. She's like, I just went to PT and I felt worse after each time I went. So it's unfortunate that tends to be the industry norm, but I think we're slowly starting to nudge out of that, like being bound to insurance model, and people are seeing the value of that. Well, in the end, you're always your own best advocate, right? So if you're feeling something or something's wrong with your body and you go to the doctor and they're telling you, oh, nothing's wrong with you, listen to your body, do the research yourself. Sometimes it comes down to that. And that's kind of, if you're not being served by your PT, find a new PT, find someone that listens to you. If you're telling them things aren't
working or helping, you got to listen to that. Don't just keep doing the same old thing, or it's just going to keep on happening.
So you don't have to go to a doctor, and if they say, oh, you don't need PT, nothing's wrong with you. There is a thing in most states, Pennsylvania especially, called direct access, where you don't need to go to a doctor and have them hand you a prescription for physical therapy. You can just go off the street and say, hey, I want to get treated and evaluated, and you can do that.
And so you would do that by going into an actual PT location, right?
Like,
not through your primary or anything like that?
You don't have to go through your primary at all. You can bypass that, and essentially the PT becomes the primary.
And what's that called?
Direct access.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Most states in the U.S. have it. Pennsylvania does for sure.
Okay, great.
New Jersey does. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's good to know. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
I remember I tweaked something, and I didn't remember exactly when it happened, but something was just wrong with the back of my knee. And so, I went to the doctor. They sent me to go get would that be an MRI for like tendons, right?
Yes, MRIs do tendons and ligaments and muscles.
Yep. And so, and they wouldn't write me the prescription for it because I had no specific instance where I could point back to and be like, okay, it happened here. I was just like, no, something's wrong. I ended up being okay, but God forbid, it could have been a worse situation, and that happens.
So you could have saved yourself some time. You could have gone right to PT. They could have done the diagnosis, got you some treatment, and probably saved time, agony, frustration.
And copay.
Right?
Yeah, see, I didn't know that.
Right.
Direct access.
Especially now you know this guy. So
yeah, no. And by the way, whenever you start to get this thing figured out, you really need to go in and check him out. And the RedCord, it's really cool.
But we just found out I have not just bicep tear, so there is more to that.
What else did he say it was?
A labrum.
Labrum.
So the biceps tendon actually attaches onto it in the shoulder.
Super high up.
Really high up, yeah.
Bryan, what do you do? What do you do outside of physical therapy?
I got 2 little girls, 6 and 8 years old. I got a golden retriever. They take up most of my time.
I bet.
My wife works in New York. She doesn't get home till late, so
is she commuting 5 days a week?
She's down to 4.
Still brutal.
Up from 0 during the pandemic, which was not great, but great for us because she was home all the time and was fortunately able to do her job remotely.
Sure.
But now they want everybody back in the office, and she was able to get another day back at home, which is great. But my days, I treat 7 a.m. was my first time. I get home around 2:30, so I can get them off the bus a little after 3, get the dog a quick walk, take them to their after-school activities, cook dinner, get them to bed, rinse and repeat. So my time is kind of limited. But
as a family man,
if I had more time, I would play more golf. I would exercise more. You squeeze it in when you can.
Yeah.
So I'm getting 20, 30 minutes max a day, which,
activity?
Yeah.
That's all it takes, man.
Yeah.
All it takes.
That's all it takes. So I've learned to kind of streamline my workouts.
Mostly for this more than anything else, right?
100% for that. Like that's my stress reliever.
Yeah.
And my therapy session for myself.
100%.
And I've always been that way. So working out was a big passion of mine. That's kind of how I got into the PT world. I originally was a pre-med in college, thinking I wanted to go to med school.
Oh.
Yeah. And I actually sat and took the MCAT exam, which is a really long, hard 8-hour exam. And during that, I had that aha moment where I was like, I don't want to go to college and post-college for another 10 plus years. And so this was my spring semester of my senior year of college. I happened to be working out at the NAC actually after I graduated. I was living at home with my parents. Injured my shoulder, went to PT, got better. That was my first exposure to PT. It happened to be high volume, but it got me better. I liked it. It felt like I was working out. And then I started researching, let's go down this PT route.
Did the therapist that you met with, did you have like a really good experience where you were kind of like
I did
inspired?
Yeah.
Can you give us little details about that?
His name was Greg. He was actually at this clinic down the road from here, and it was just what I knew because my sister had hurt her knee and went there. So when I hurt my shoulder, that's all I knew of. So I went and got treated by this guy named Greg, and he was just like a good, cool guy. He was talking about the Phillies, talking about Jimmy Buffett at the time, and margaritas. I had just graduated college and I was into margaritas at the time.
Oh yeah, spring break.
Yeah, we had a good reputation, good rapport with each other, and I got better pretty quickly. And then I was, looking down the road to how do I get involved in this. So I had to take a different entrance exam, not as hard or time consuming, but nonetheless, and then apply to a bunch of different schools. And I got accepted to NYU, was actually the only one I got into out of the 5 that I applied to. So I moved into New York and never thought I was going to be living in a big city like that.
Do you miss it?
No. I love my time there. I love my time there, but I am really happy that I don't live there, especially during these last 4 years of the craziness from COVID and the fallout from that.
Sure.
So,
who is your ideal client?
My ideal client.
Do you have a niche?
Well, I could tell you that I mainly see people who have low back and neck pain. But my ideal client is anybody that is motivated to get better and that will come in to each of their treatment sessions willing to work, because PT sucks. Let's be honest. You have to work hard. You don't want to be there. You're in pain. Now, you do feel better afterwards, but in the moment, it sucks. I get it.
And it's not glamorous either. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have a bigger chest because it is.
Correct. But you will be able to move better and feel better. So that's the carrot on the end of the stick, right?
Yeah.
So I would say anybody that is willing to do that and will do their homework and, generally wants to get better is my ideal client. So that can be an 85-year-old grandmother, or it could be a 16-year-old high school baseball player that wants to play D1 baseball. So
sure.
Anywhere in between. And I do have that mix. It's a pretty good mix that I have right now.
I would say the same. Me and Gar were talking in great detail, I think, on episode 4 about how, of course, there's a certain demographic that you find a certain level of fulfillment from. Maybe there's like a specific, age group or gender, right, who you find extra, just a little more passionate about. But in the end, it just comes down to people wanting it, and you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do.
That's right.
And if they're dragging their feet every time, they're not doing the homework that you're giving them, and they're not seeing the success, that kind of really weighs on you. And over time, you kind of learn not to, to troubleshoot. You don't have to take on every client.
That's right. But the model that I have become like entrenched in are those people that already went to like PT and they haven't gotten better, and then they typically seek me out or someone that's going to give them more individualized attention. So I would say like 95% of who comes through my door are already motivated like that.
That's beautiful.
Right? So
because they actively sought you out.
They sought me out. And it's probably because they had a not so great experience prior to that.
Sure. And so then you're like a breath of fresh air.
That's nice. Yeah. I like
what I mean? Yeah. They're like, wow, somebody I can actually trust, somebody that really knows what they're talking about and caters to literally to the T what I need. They're not just handing me a sheet and telling me, okay, shoo.
Do you have any tips, or do you believe in injury prevention?
Injury prevention.
Yeah.
I think the biggest predictor of injury is a previous injury. So if you've had some sort of injury to your system in your life, whether it's something as perceived as insignificant as an ankle sprain, and that doesn't get rehabbed or addressed properly, you are at a higher risk to have some sort of other injury later on.
So it's pretty much might be a ticking bomb.
Correct.
Let's say it like that.
Even though there's not pain and you're not aware of anything that might not be going properly, there might be that little chink in the armor or weak link that is still present that can become an issue later on. So I think the biggest thing to do is be aware of your body, recognize if any injuries have happened in your life or you're not moving the way you think you should be moving, and address that before that rolls into something bigger and bigger. And because then it's going to take a lot more time, effort to undo all that stuff. So that is in my experience, I feel like that's the big thing that I always ask. Because let's be honest, we've all probably sprained an ankle and we've been told, it's just an ankle sprain. Walk it off, you'll be fine. But something as insignificant as an ankle sprain can become an issue later on.
Well, when I'm onboarding new clients, you got Part Q. You want to find out what their exercise history was, what their, any past injuries. And you'd be surprised, and I wonder if you can relate with this, the little things that happened when they were a kid or a teenager, like an ankle sprain or even something broken, but it's just so far back. They won't bring it up first time around. And then like a month into the session, or maybe if I do dive deeper during that initial assessment, it comes out, it comes to light. So it's just weird to me why people do that.
I have that happen all the time. And it usually will, just like you said, later on, maybe not that first visit, but like week or two down the road, it happens. They're like, oh, by the way, I did this. Like, oh, I had 3 broken ribs. Well, your shoulder hurts. Well, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, your shoulder's been hurting you for 3 years. Maybe this is part of it.
Mm-hmm. I bet it usually comes to light kind of just by like trial and error. I bet you kind of bring it to the surface as you're picking apart their issues.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly how it happens.
Plus, don't forget, though, it's like a lot of people are not that educated like we are. We might pay attention. We might
as far as fitness and all that.
Yeah. No, I'm saying exactly that, because it's like they might close their eyes on it, what happened in the childhood, because it's like, oh, it was way long time ago. But sometimes you will not have a freaking back injury for like 10 years. And then you try to grab a freaking bag from a trunk and zap.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly the same spot. And you're like, oh, God.
That's exactly right.
Gar, did you have any injuries that led up to this recent bicep tear that you can think of?
I actually, long time ago, I did have a shoulder injury, and I don't remember details. I was probably like 22 or so, but doctors told me I need the surgery on both of my shoulders. But at that time, it's like I figured, let me find more information about it. And actually, one of the personal trainers I knew, he recommended me to do more rotator cuff muscle exercises. I did it, and it just went away in a few weeks.
Nice.
So, and now I always been, it's like religiously to do those exercises every time before like a heavy benching.
Were you guys training together?
No. He doesn't like to work out with me. We have different goals, I guess. He feels like I hinder him. I don't know.
Hinder?
Listen. So the backstory behind this, I tried working out with him one time, and we showed up to his gym. I think we both had memberships to LA. Is that right?
No, we went to the Retro Fitness.
Was it Retro?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we went to Retro. I'm ready to lift with him, and I show up, and he was a new trainer of mine, just recently on my team, training my wife, I think, at that time. And instead of working out with me, he's like, "Okay, I'm going to train you today." So he ran me through a workout. And I was like, what is this? But this is kind of cool. But what is this? I was supposed to lift with you, dude.
That is the thing. It's like I had already like I already had a max for bench press day that day. So it's like, and we were going for the back and stuff. So I just beat you up on the back, because here's the thing. If I'm going to train to like someone that I never worked with, and I guess you have in mind too, at that time at least, I guess that okay, like show me a little bit of your skills.
It was good.
Yeah.
I get feedback from Michaela, but it was good.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he knows what he's doing. This is good. Tell us about RedCord. You told us a little background. Go ahead, dive in.
So RedCord is in the same family. It's a suspension-based modality, and it originated from Norway. So another suspension tool that everybody is most likely familiar with is called TRX. So TRX is something that you see in pretty much every gym. Black straps with yellow thrown in there and handles. There is a similar version of RedCord that can be, quote unquote, a gym version, but there's also a rehab version, which is what I use. And it's a suspension-based thing that sits in the ceiling over the table, and it has multiple suspension points. And say we want to work your left gluteus medius, so the side of your butt muscle. Typically, you would work that on your own if you weren't using a RedCord. by just lying on your side, raising your leg up and down to target that side of the butt. This would be, the working side would go face down, and you would have a strap around your waist with 2 bungees hooked up to the apparatus that's hooked up into the ceiling. Then your legs would go into the strap around your knee that is hooked up to the same device above you with rope. So around your waist you have bungee, around your, just below your knee, you have rope with a sling. And the cue would be press your leg down into that sling and have your hips come off the table. And a lot of people can't do that because people don't have a lot of good control of their gluteus medius, as you guys probably are well aware of.
Sure.
But being able to do that is important for a lot of different functional activities. So having the bungee and the sling around your waist to help you through that motion allows that muscle to get turned on. It allows the feedback loop between your muscle and your brain become reestablished, and you can do a number of different things while you're there. Like, I can help them through it even more. I can literally shake the ropes to create some vibration and perturbation, which helps stimulate more muscle fibers. More muscle fibers, that feedback loop gets even greater. And it's kind of like analogous to a assisted pull-up or assisted dip machine in the gym, right? So you can't do a pull-up. You put the weight stack more and more and more. You rest your knees on it, and then now you're able to do a pull-up, right? That's basically what the RedCord is able to do. It can literally work out any part of your body in it. You can work your neck flexors. You can work, pull-ups, push-ups in this position. We can literally have you suspended like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible when he falls from the ceiling and gets stuck like that. There's a setup like that for like deep motor control of your lumbopelvic area. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it was created by a Norwegian. He was a retired gymnast who also happened to be a sailor, carpenter, and fisherman. So he had a ton of rope laying around in his barn in Norway, who happened to have back pain. He tied the rope around his ankles, and then he threw the other end of the rope over this beam in his barn and pulled on it and essentially inverted himself to traction his lower back. And he got a ton of relief from that. Then he started playing around with tying up different parts of his body in these ropes, and had friends who were in the medical community in Norway. Is a household name in Norway. It's literally in every PT clinic in the country of Norway. Norway is a socialized medicine country, so before they sign off on any surgery, they require you to go to 6 weeks of rehab in Norway.
Really?
Using RedCord.
That's incredible.
Using RedCord before they'll allow you to go get the surgery.
Wow.
And a lot of times they can cancel the surgery.
I want to know what percentage that is. I'm super intrigued.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
That, but all of the Norwegian winter athletes, they train on not the rehab version of it, but like the quote unquote TRX version of it. And they're always really high up in the medal count. They train on this stuff year round. There's some cool Norwegian skier videos in RedCord. We should check that out.
Yeah.
These guys literally, they have 2 ropes, and they put the rope about, 3-4 inches above the ground, and they're doing squats without even holding on to the rope, and they're just doing squats and like simulating going down like a mogul trail. So
I want to see someone do a split.
They do that.
Yeah, I bet. That's nuts.
It is pretty nuts, but it's great, and it doesn't take up any space. So it literally hangs in the ceiling. When I'm done with it, I tie up the ropes hanging up there. That you can't even, the floor space is totally fine because I have 140 square feet. I need to maximize the space.
Sure.
So having stuff into the ceiling was imperative for me. And it's a great, effective tool. It works great. So it's gaining more and more popularity in the U.S. I got exposed to it when I started out in the Princeton location where I was telling you before, and they became the distributors of this RedCord equipment and all of the educational courses that go along with it. you can't just buy it. You have to take a course and learn how to use different setups because you get hurt otherwise.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, you can like choke yourself or trip over it, fall. You have to know how to set it up properly. So when I was working there, they had all kinds of continuing education courses come through there, maybe like 2 or 3 a quarter. And I was fortunate enough to be working there, so I got to take them all for free.
Awesome.
Yeah. And like literally we had 6 treatment tables. Every single one of them had one above the ceiling.
Wow.
So that was like, our thing. We did it there all
so
day,
then,
every day.
when you were ready to go out on your own and do, go with ActiveCore, did you even need to go away to some, week retreat or whatever to get an additional certification, or you already had everything you needed?
Yeah. So I'm actually certified to teach it to not PTs, but I could teach it to trainers. There's 2 different tracks.
Okay.
There's a medical track and then there's a fitness track.
Got it.
So I'm certified to teach the RedCord for fitness professionals. Sorry. A lot of labrum tears can be rehabbed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to actually fix the tear,
but
it might not be an issue for you. Like you could do plenty of rehab exercises and the shoulder can become fine and you can avoid surgery altogether. You have a second issue right now where you have the biceps tendon tear plus the labrum tear. So that would be a determination from you and your doctor that you're going to go see what the appropriate outcome is. That my recommendation would be to do some rehab before anyway. Like regardless, it might feel better and you might be able to avoid surgery. The stronger you are going into a surgery, the better off you are going to be following after that, if that makes sense.
Me being a power lifter, and my plan is to put like a certain pretty serious numbers down, not just like for psychological health or something like that.
He wants to be, how do we say, Neanderthalically strong.
Yeah.
So then you might be looking at a surgery
Most likely
for your goals of fitness and.
Yeah. So, and other than that, I don't know if you heard about it. Like I'm into the shooting sports too, and I was about to start doing one in May that is called Tactical Games. Yeah. So it's pretty much CrossFit plus Spartan race with the guns and body armor. You're running around for miles with the body armor and stuff. Like, doing rope climbing and stuff like that, you have to be in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
then for your goals that you're looking for, you might need that. But you're doing the right thing by getting multiple opinions. So find a good shoulder specialist and ask him all those questions that you just asked me.
And a good physical therapist.
Yeah.
And a good PT, because either way, you're going to need to do some sort of rehab, whether you decide not to do surgery or if you are, you're still going to need to do
of course,
some sort of rehab, right? I actually had a labrum tear and had to get it repaired not too long ago.
How'd you do it?
I had a friend who was drunk and he dropped me on my shoulder.
Oh, no. Probably your best friend, too.
It's a guy who I'm treating tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
So he's going to be tortured a little bit more.
I'll remember that.
Payback, bitch.
Did you both get hurt at the same time, or this is different? Something different he's getting treated for?
No, he did some other time.
Okay.
He was like, oh, yeah, finally.
But,
jackass.
Yeah.
But we all got a buddy like that.
So how did you repair it?
So I tried to rehab it conservatively through PT and acupuncture, stuff like that. And it got better, like the shoulder pain went away, but I had just a lot of neck pain because I guess there was still instability in my shoulder itself, and my neck muscles that attach onto like the shoulder were trying to compensate. So my neck pain just wouldn't go away. And then I wound up just, it was during COVID actually. It was May of 2020. I was like, I'm just going to do it. So went up to hospital for special surgery in New York, and it was actually the best thing that I did for it. So but the neck pain was just killing me.
And and long term, like you said, chinking your armor could transfer down the line so many ways, including like migraines or headaches.
I was getting headaches too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, talk about it. It's like that's what I actually already have from army.
Yeah,
and now this add to it. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, we got to get it done for you, buddy. What is, I guess, the top 3 most common injuries that you see?
Low back pain, neck pain, knee pain, I would say.
I would agree with the low back and knee especially. Just everybody seems to have it in one form or another.
What do you think? What's, in your opinion, is the best knee strengthening exercises? Like, I do a lot for myself, the backwards walk on a high incline.
I like that.
Yeah. There's a certain other exercises too, but I want to...
Do you ever train your inner thigh muscles? There's all kinds of muscle connections throughout the body, and like the connective tissue that goes through these different muscles are called fascial lines or fascial slings. He calls them anatomy trains. One in particular is called the deep front fascial line, which starts at your knee, goes through like the inner thighs, pelvic floor, transverse abdominals, diaphragm, and all the way up into the neck. So a lot of times, if people have neck pain, I can rehab them by working out their inner thigh muscles. It literally is all connected, and those people, so many of us just are weak here and they don't even know it.
You got any other resource you want to provide the listeners with?
Thomas Myers, Anatomy Trains. Farsi, you guys are familiar with that, right? The pails and rails and the hip cars and, no?
Hip cars.
Controlled articular rotations. Basically, you're isolating specific joints. So you're creating total body tension and trying to only isolate like hip range of motion, go through a slow, controlled range without compensating through like back, pelvis.
And we're talking like using the floor and walls
Yeah.
to help do that, right?
Or even like a physio ball underneath you, or a lot of walls and stuff that can't move, or you
Sure.
or you'll hold into like two poles to create tension and then try to like flex your hip externally, internally rotate, stuff like that.
Okay.
I like to give that for homework, just to keep that joint moving and
Sure.
try to improve range like that. And you don't need a lot of equipment for it either.
There's a podcast, Mind Pump Media. Really great. Check it out sometime. And they have this MAPS Prime mobility program, which I haven't been sticking with super regularly right now. So when I come in there, you're going to see that. But about a year ago, I was, every day, I was doing this mobility program, and it had a lot of that stuff. And when you're doing it, you really do need to do some of these stretches, flexibility, mobility every day. Just move for 5-10 minutes, and your body will literally transform. But
Correct.
I just my hips were so much healthier back then. Everything, my shoulders, it's wild.
And you can use it as like a self-assessment, right? Like, oh, there is a sticky point. So then you kind of hang out in that sticky range for a little bit longer and try to work your way through that barrier. So,
And the deeper you dive, and then once you become a little consistent, you really start to notice those small changes,
Correct.
and small improvements you make. It's kind of it really is a beautiful thing.
right. But if you're a novice, just go and move.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Do you got any socials that people could follow? Just plug the website.
ActiveCore.com/Newtown is the website, and ActiveCore Newtown on Instagram is the Twitter or the Instagram handle. So check those out.
Beautiful.
Guys, thank you for listening. And remember, we always appreciate you asking questions, so don't be shy. We are family, all right? Ask questions what you are interested in. If we know, we will give you best answers we can. If not, great. We are grateful for those questions because now we can learn more. We can do some research and then provide you best quality information.
So if you want to submit any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, you can shoot me an email on my personal email at mitchellblack@gmail.com. You can also submit a topic request form, which is on our link tree. You're also welcome to DM us or comment on our socials. On Instagram, that would be @thefence_podcasts. On YouTube, @thefencepodcast. And anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, you can tune in at The Fence.